Good morning. I'm Pauline Verzosa sitting in for Gretchen Ho. It is Monday, the 5th of January, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Now let's get to the stories that matter today. Several countries have issued condemnations following U.S. strikes on Venezuela and the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife on Saturday. U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed the military action, stating that Maduro was taken into custody and flown out of the country. Heavy rains have triggered flooding and class suspensions in several towns and cities this Monday. Pag-asa meanwhile warns that the combined effects of the Amihan, Easterlies, and Shear Line will continue to trigger rains across various sections of the country. And President Bongbong Marcos is scheduled to sign the 2026 General Appropriations Bill into law today. However, budget watchdog groups are urging the president to veto portions of the budget that they claim contain questionable funds. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. And now first on the agenda, the United States says it has captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in an overnight operation, with President Donald Trump declaring Washington will temporarily take control of the oil-rich country. Here's the report.
The United States attacked Venezuela and captured its long-serving President Nicolas Maduro in an overnight operation on Saturday. U.S. President Donald Trump promised to put the country under American control for now, including by deploying U.S. forces if necessary. Speaking at a press conference at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, Trump said the U.S. would continue to oversee its involvement in Venezuela until such time as they can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition, signaling an open-ended U.S. role in the country.
So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about.
But U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested that the U.S. would not govern Venezuela day to day other than enforcing an existing oil quarantine on the country. They stood in contrast to Trump's broad but vague claims that the U.S. would at least temporarily run the oil-rich nation. Comments that suggested some sort of governing structure under which Caracas would be controlled by Washington.
Well, as I said, we retain all the options we had before this raid and this capture and this arrest was made. We continue. The quarantine is in place right now. If you are a sanctioned boat and you are headed towards Venezuela, you will be seized either on the way in or on the way out with a court order that we get from judges in the United States. We will continue to enforce our sanctions. And that is going to continue to happen until such time as changes are made.
The U.S.-Venezuela tensions intensified under Trump after Washington imposed sweeping sanctions, recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president, and pursued a maximum pressure campaign to isolate Nicolas Maduro's government. The Philippines, for its part, is closely monitoring the evolving situation in Venezuela. The Department of Foreign Affairs is calling on all concerned parties to resolve disputes peacefully and avoid actions that could further escalate tensions.
Several Filipino lawmakers strongly condemned the United States following its military strike against Venezuela. Senator Risa Ontiveros described the strike as a serious violation of international law, warning that it could encourage powerful nations to use force for their own interests and put other countries at risk. Senator Amy Marcos also cautioned that forcibly removing a foreign leader could breach international law and send troubling signals to the global community. However, Senator Jinggoy Estrada said it was too early to determine whether the United States had violated international law. And Representative Laila de Lima stated that the move undermines decades of progress achieved through the United Nations. Meantime, Representative Percy Sendanya called the attack an illegal invasion that should give Filipinos a pause, especially after former President Trump or U.S. President Trump admitted interest in Venezuela's oil reserves. Several local government units have suspended classes today, January 5, due to inclement weather. In the Bicol region, affected areas include Malinao, Tabaco City, Bacacay, Malilipot, and Tiwi in Albay, Caramoan in Camarines Sur, and Batuan in Masbate. In Central Visayas, authorities have canceled classes in Tabogon, Cebu, as well as Bindoy and Manhuyod in Negros Oriental. Eastern Visayas sees widespread suspensions in Leyte and the provinces of Biliran, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, and Samar. Meanwhile, in Northern Mindanao, classes are suspended in Gingoog City, Misamis Oriental. While eastern parts of the country are also experiencing rainy conditions. And now let's get the latest from Pag-asa weather specialist Charmaine Varilla. Good morning, Charmaine.
Yes, good morning po ma'am at sa lahat po nating mga tagapakinig.
Yes, Charmaine, so kamusta ang lagay ng ating panahon at ano ba ang nagdudulot ng pag-ulan dito sa Pilipinas?
Yes po ma'am, no? So yung mga nabanggit niyo po kanina na lugar na merong nakaranas ng mga malalakas mga pag-ulan, nag-cancel ng mga classes ay mostly nga dito sa may Eastern Visayas at sa may bahagi din ng Bicol region. At yan po ay dala ng shear line at kasalukuyan nga nakaka-apekto itong shear line sa may Visayas maging sa may silangang bahagi ng Southern Luzon. At asahan po na ngayong araw, magpapatuloy pa rin yung mga pag-ulan dito sa may Visayas, Bicol region, maging sa may Quezon, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque at sa may Romblon. And easterlies naman ang siya nagpapaulan dito sa may Mindanao, specifically sa may Zamboanga Peninsula, maging sa may Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi at Palawan. At dito naman sa bahagi ng Cordillera, Cagayan Valley, Aurora, Laguna, Batangas at iba pang bahagi ng Mimaropa, asahan din po natin yung maulap na kalangitan na may mahihinang mga pag-ulan dala ng northeast monsoon. Dito naman sa Metro Manila at ibang bahagi pa ng Luzon, asahan po natin yung magandang panahon, generally fair weather, pag-igat lamang sa mga pulupulong mahihinang mga pag-ulan.
Charmaine, as of this morning, meron pa bang mga rainfall warnings na nakataas sa ilang mga lugar?
Yes po, no, meron pa rin po tayong nakikitang mga rainfall advisories dito sa mga areas na yan, pero ina-expect naman na po natin na patuloy ng hihina yan ngayong araw. Pero as compared yesterday ng mga paulan, pero nandun pa rin po tayo or naka-issue pa rin po tayo ng weather advisory, especially nga dito sa may Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, maging sa malaking bahagi ng Bicol region.
At Charmaine, hanggang kailan ba natin mararanasan itong pag-ulan?
Ina-expect po natin na for the next 2 to 3 days ay malalakas katamtaman hanggang sa mga malalakas pa rin yung mga pag-ulan dito sa malaking bahagi ng Bicol region, bagaman dito sa may Eastern Visayas ay hihina na by tomorrow.
Charmaine, madalas nating naririnig yung terms na shear line, pati na rin yung northeast monsoon. Pero pakipaliwanag naman sa amin, paano ba sila nag-i-interact at bakit mas naapektuhan yung Bicol region at ang Eastern Visayas dahil dito?
Yes po. So, ito pong shear line ay dala ng salubungan ng hangin from northeast monsoon at easterlies. Ito po kasing northeast monsoon ay hangin na may kalamigan at yung easterlies naman po, ang pinanggalingan po niya ay dito sa Pacific. So, mas mainit siya as compared dito sa northeast monsoon. So, ang nangyari pag nasalubong po yung dalawang hangin na yan, ay nakakapamuo po sila ng kaulapan. At yan po yung nakikita natin sa satellite na parang linya yung itsura niya na mga bahagi ng kaulapan. And nagpapaulan po siya ngayon dito sa may Visayas and eastern section ng Southern Luzon kasi medyo may kalakasan po yung ating northeast monsoon nung mga nakaraang araw. Kaya yung axis po niya bumaba dito sa may bahagi nga ng Visayas. And ina-expect po natin na sa mga susunod na araw ay bahaging hihina itong northeast monsoon po natin. So medyo tataas yung axis po niya banda dito sa may bahagi ng Bicol region. Pero pagdating po uli ng by Thursday or Friday, posible na namang muling lumakas. So ibig sabihin po nan, maghanda pa rin po tayo for this week ng mga malalakas na mga pag-ulan, especially nga dito sa may Bicol region at Eastern Visayas.
At bukod dun sa shear line at amihan na nabanggit mo, Charmaine, meron din yung easterlies na nakakaapekto sa ating panahon. Ano ba ang epekto niyan sa mga lugar, lalo na sa Mindanao?
Ito pong easterlies ay nagbibigay din po yan ng mga kalat-kalat ng mga pag-ulan. Lalong-lalo na nga kapag lumalakas po yan. And yan po ngayon yung nagpapaulan mostly dito sa may Zamboanga Peninsula, maging dito sa may mga pulo-pulo sa may Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi at dito naman sa may Palawan. For the rest of Mindanao, maganda naman po yung panahon para na lang sa tsansa ng mga isolated rain showers and thunderstorms.
At Charmaine, ngayong bagong taon, ngayong January, nakakaranas tayo ng mas malamig na temperatura. Saan po ba ito pinaka nararamdaman at lalakas pa ba o gaano pa kalamig ang aasahan natin pagdating sa temperatura?
Bumaba na po yung temperatura dito sa may bahagi ng Benguet ng mga nasa 9 degrees Celsius. Pero sa ngayon po, mas malamig na dito sa may bahagi ng Baguio na kung saan umaabot ng 15 degrees Celsius kaninang madaling araw. And then dito naman po sa may bahagi ng Benguet, umaabot ng medyo may mas lesser siya na kalamigan. Pero malamig pa rin, nasa 16 degrees Celsius po nung nakaraang araw naman. So,
May
naglalaro
mga lugar,
na po. Yes po. So, parang
may mga
naglalaro.
lugar ba, Charmaine, na may nakataas na gale warning?
Sa ngayon po ay nag-finalize na tayo ng gale warning. So, malaya na pong maglayag lahat ng sasakyang pandagat. Pero nandun pa rin nga po yung mga katamtaman hanggang sa matataas na mga pag-alon dito sa may silangang bahagi ng ating bansa. Kaya mag-iingat pa rin po, especially yung mga isda at maliliit na sasakyang pandagat.
At dahil wala ng low pressure area na minomonitor ngayon ang Pag-asa, masasabi ba natin na mababa ang tsansa na magkaroon ng bigla ang bagyo this week, Charmaine, o may iba pa rin na kailangan bantayan?
Yes po, tama po kayo at mababa pa rin po yung or nananatili pa rin na mababa yung tsansa na magkaroon ng bagyo within this week. Pero may mga nagpapakita po ng model na posibleng merong isang low pressure area dito sa may katimugang bahagi ng Palawan. So ito po yung babantayan natin kung ma-develop nga into low pressure area.
At sa mga lugar na patuloy pa rin ang ulan, ano naman ang paalala ng Pag-asa, lalo na sa posibleng pagbaha at landslide?
Yes po, no. Dahil nga po nakikita natin na magtutuloy-tuloy pa itong mga pag-ulan dyan sa area o malaking bahagi ng Bicol Region. At Eastern Visayas ay kung kinakailangan po na lumikas ay i-consider po dahil medyo may mga pag-ulan pa na aasahan for the next days and makipag-coordinate po sa LGU, especially kung yung mga areas po ninyo ay highly susceptible sa floodings and landslide. And patuloy din pong tumutok sa Pag-asa hinggil sa weather advisory po na mga i-issue natin. Nag-a-update po tayo everyday nan as well as yung ating Pag-asa Regional Services Division dyan sa may Southern Luzon maging sa may Visayas. Nag-i-issue din po ng heavy rainfall warning. So, patuloy po tayong mantabay at i-visit po natin yung mga pages na yan para maging updated tayo sa magiging lagay ng mga pag-ulan sa ating lugar.
Alright, maraming salamat para sa update na yan. Pag-asa Weather Specialist, Charmaine Varilla. Don't go away. We will be back with more stories after this break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa. And here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. President Bongbong Marcos is expected to sign the 2026 General Appropriations Bill into law today, January 5. The national budget totaling 6.793 trillion pesos was transmitted to the executive branch on December 29, 2025. Malacanang assured the public that it has conducted a thorough review of the budget to ensure its integrity, fiscal discipline, and alignment with the priorities and needs of the Filipino people. Meanwhile, some lawmakers and advocacy groups are urging the president to veto the unprogrammed appropriations in the 2026 gap. Meantime, a budget watchdog is also urging President Bongbong Marcos to veto around 319 billion pesos in what it calls questionable last-minute insertions in the proposed 2026 national budget. Social Watch Philippines warns the items, mostly lump sum and infrastructure allocations, could revive the old pork barrel system, saying they were added during the bicameral process without proper public scrutiny. The group flagged programs under the DPWH and Department of Agriculture's confidential funds and expanded social assistance and LGU aid budgets as vulnerable to patronage and corruption. They also called on the president to restore funding levels to those in the original budget proposal. And joining us this morning is Alce Kitalig, Senior Budget Specialist of Social Watch Philippines, to help us unpack the concerns on the 2026 national budget. Good morning, Alce. Alce, am I saying that correctly?
That's Alce. Yes. Good morning, Pawi, and good morning to your listeners in Watch. Dito to Bakulik.
Yes, all right. Well, today, President Bongbong Marcos is expected to sign the 2026 GAB into law. But the Social Watch Philippines is calling on the president to veto at least 319 billion pesos in what you describe as questionable allocations. Can you explain to us in simple terms why you consider them highly questionable?
They are highly questionable because they are prone to patronage politics. They are prone to discretionary political discretion, no? So and political favoritism. So basically, that's our message. Because these allocations, no, basically were inserted during the bicameral conference committee, and this really, which I think, you know, that we think that were these actually these were basically this nagano sila eh, parang nagano no, these were insertions no during the BICAM, and hindi talaga napag-aralan. They are not really studied that well, no, in that process.
Okay, so as a breakdown for us, itong at least 319 billion pesos na you want the president to veto, kasama ba dyan ang kabuuan ng unprogrammed appropriations at ano pang mga allocation ng iba-ibang ahensya? Ang tingin nyo ay medyo questionable pa rin?
Yes, yung 319 billion, it's basically more on the program appropriations, no. And then we have two options for the program appropriations. So firstly, do sa program muna, so we have 319 billion of items that we hope that the president will veto, and one of that would be the 81.9 billion basic infrastructure program and sustainable infrastructure projects alleviating gaps program under the DPWH budget, no. Because in the previous years, actually this mga previous years, talagang doon talaga doon talaga namalagi yung mga insertions in the DPWH budget. So that's one of our proposals now for veto. And the 8.9 billion on the farm to market laws, although they say that they had coordinates, no, and they are proposed for a swap for for swapping, So the problem there is that, yun na, nabanggit nyo kanina, these are last minute requests by the agencies, and this really went late in the game, so basically, so nakabahala yun, because marami ng opportunities, for the agencies to propose this in the committee, in the plenary levels, of the deliberations of the 2026 budget, PAWI. Pero yun, nangyari nga doon is that itong huli na lang nilagay, and there are also items, like the tulong-tulong program, the presidential farm assistance, for farmers and fisherfolk, that are not really part of the agency budget proposals, So these are clearly pork barrel allocations, because these are really not part of the regular programs of the regular implementing agencies. So yun, so, and yung second option, hiniwalay namin yung unprogrammed appropriations. We want to be flexible on that. So what we propose, for resolution is that for program appropriations, firstly, pwedeng ang gawin, there are 10 items, in the program appropriations. What we proposed, firstly, is tanggalin yung dalawa doon, the budgetary support to government corporations and the revised AFP modernization program, because these have already these have allocations already, in the program appropriations or special purpose fund. So parang duplicate, basically itong mga programs na ito. Even actually yung sinasabi ko kanina, yung CPAG and BIP projects sa DPWH, they duplicate, the other programs, or projects in DPWH that already been that have allocations already in the program appropriations, in the form of bridge program, local program, and asset preservation program, etc. So parang kaya nagduplicate din itong conversion special support program and yung BIP, basic infrastructure program and CPAG programs. So yun, And for the program appropriations, the second option that we proposed is to veto, the whole items and pass a supplemental budget, for with the particular funding sources and the expenditure details, na parang naka-annex like the DPWH projects. So ganoon. So those are our and for the budgets, in the social assistance programs, like yung medical assistance to indigent patients, yung AICs, assistance to individuals in crisis situations, and TUPAD, what we propose there is to veto those items, but there should be a passage or submission or in passage later on of a supplemental budget that will revert the original amounts, to the NEP levels, yung proposed budget. So that would be like mga nasa if I'm not mistaken, is 63 billion. So magiging 63 billion yung buong social assistance programs na budget. And doon naman sa local government local government support fund, it would be 6 billion na lamang, because that's the original naman na proposal ng executive, So that's
So
what
you're
we
okay with the original, Alce? Yung original proposed budget sa National Expenditure Program is fine. Hindi questionable kahit papano yung funding doon. Despite what we've learned already from the flood control scandal, kung saan nagkakaroon din naman ng mga horse trading, right? Even pre-implementation of the budget at the NEP level. But what you're saying is ang okay na compromise dito is for President Marcos to at least restore the original amount doon sa NEP.
Yes. If you will look into the the NEP budget, NEP budget. These budgets, went through the vetting and assessment and planning of the program officers, no, of the implementing agencies vetted by the DBM, no, based on implementation readiness, no, and absorb the capacity, so yung capacity to spend, no, ng mga agencies. So at that point, of course, those are issues, no, legitimate issues like yung allocables, yung parking ng funds during pre-legislation. So, but at least these items na binanggit natin na nasa NEP amount or NEP levels, these are budgets that the agencies have ownership. So the ownership, they will spend this because they have the capacity to spend this. The problem kasi with the insertions, no, of the legislators is that especially yung mga bloated na talagang sobrang lalaki, no, ng mga insertions, no, or amendments, no, so technically speaking is that na-destroy kasi yung yung absorb the capacity ng agency. So this, for example, kaya nga yung mga proposals, no, sa NEP or sa national, sa proposed budget, yan ang madali nila talaga ma-spend because these are formulated by the agencies themselves, no. But for example, if the assertion goes to like 82 billion, like what we found in the ratified version, no, for example sa DPWH, that will not be implemented at once because these are amendments that came from the legislators themselves. And the problem there is, where did they get really the numbers? Kaya 'di ba, there's there's a last minute request, but dapat sana mas napag-usapan pa sana na 'yon sa earlier deliberations, no, in the Senate, in the House. They have many opportunities to do that the public can scrutinize further, and not like this 5 days lamang na bicameral conference. And
So are you also pointing to... Oo, Alcy, are you also pointing to yung last minute request nga ni DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon na ibalik yung na wag bawasan yung budget ng DPWH because of pricing sa materials na iba-iba daw per region, right? That's his justification on why he showed up to the BICAM hearings, which was quite unusual. But for you, hindi ba justified yun?
The problem with that is that it really came late, no, in the game, as I said earlier. So why now? Why at that point, no, December, during the bicameral conference committee, but hindi nila yan sinabi during the committee and plenary deliberations? And the argument na sige, they went there, but the full listing of the projects that sinasabi nila implementable or as proposed for adjustment, no, in pricing, dapat pinakita nila yung buong listing. And the problem there is that wala naman silang binanggit eh. Wala naman sinabi talaga. Bigyan lang dalawang examples, no. Basically, the first one is overpriced, the other one is underpriced, no. So, pero dapat kung talagang it's a really these are transparent into the public, sana pinapropose sila yung buo. And that's why these last minute requests are really questionable, no, at the very least.
Would you say also, Alce, that lawmakers have gotten more clever in hiding these allocations? Because Social Watch did say that these last-minute insertions and lump sum funds resemble the old pork barrel system. So with what they're doing now, does that make it harder for the public to really see where they're hiding the pork and to hold them accountable for irregular insertions?
Yes. That is really the question now, no. If I'm right, there's a 72 billion insertion on what they call multi-purpose buildings facilities to support social services. That's 72 billion of one line item budget. And what is the what is the content of this? So that's the problem. That's when we say when we're saying that it will return the old budget all the old pork barrel system will return, is that ibabalik nila. That's the problem. Eh. They will make it return. No, if this budget will pass through without the vetoed items, no, babalik yung old pork barrel system because, for example, I give an example. That's just a one line item, but it should have details sana. That's the problem. That's the so, and in the
So-
former PDAF, no, PDAF, the Priority Development Assistance Fund na form of pork, at least there, at least, no, I'm not saying that it's right, but there's a transparency,
papano.
there's a portal, PDAF website, no, DBM website, I remember that. And nakalagay kung sino yung senador or congressman, no, that naka-charge yung the projects. But because of the prohibition of the pork barrel system, what happened there is that they the politicians now have the wherewithal to hide the and there's no paper trail, no. Of course, you will see that in the major budget line items like AIX, TUPAD, and MAIPIF, but the details, no, you will just hear that in anecdotal stories, no, and there's no real tawag dito, paper trail,
No
even
basis.
in official issuances, di ba? Siyempre, they will iwasan nila yung post-enactment intervention. But what happens on the ground is talaga merong ganon. So, because for example, itong insertions na ito na nilagay nila, especially dun sa local government assistance, financial assistance to local government units. Ang laki kasi. It's threefold, and then you have growth equity fund na tenfold yung increase. So how will the agencies now implement that? Kung wala yan doon sa original nila na programs, no, and plans, and then sino talaga yung mag-identify? Because the DBM will require documentary requirements, no, to release the funds, no, of these programs. And if where the question there is, saan talaga manggagaling? If the insertion came from the legislators, syempre, we will expect that the listing of the or the identification of the beneficiaries will come from them, because the agencies are, of course, they are not privy to why this budget has increased, for example.
Oo.
And what's
Kumbaga,
worse,
Go ahead.
if I may add, Pawi, what's worse is that because of this, there's are these insertions, pero the question is saan kinuha, no? There are plenty of examples that we found out, no? For example, yung various DPWH projects din, no, na foreign assisted projects ang tinanggalan, no? And meron din tinanggal dun sa sa DOTR projects, like yung the
Mga
phase
big-ticket
1
projects, yes.
phase 1 of the Metro Manila subway project, no, North-South commuter railway, no. These are essentially, of course, maganda sana to kung ma-implement sana, masisimulan na. Although syempre medyo meron yan pero ipakinabang ng taong bayan, madedelay yun because of this heavy reductions or budget cuts. Then they will just reallocate this to other budgets, like questionable budgets. And then you have pension and gratuity fund, you have miscellaneous and personal benefits fund na binawasan din nila ng malaki. Dapat yun ay para doon sa third tranche na, kasi ang ngayon ang salary scale upgrade, no, ng mga government employees. So the problem there is their benefits and of course their upgrade of their salaries are pitted against this para allocations.
Well, that's why back in for the 2025 budget, people said it's the most corrupt budget in the country's history. And for the 2026 budget naman, ang sinasabi ng Social Watch Philippines, it is not people-centered. But
Yes.
Alce, by vetoing these questionable insertions and line items, will that be an opportunity for President Bongbong Marcos to really prove his seriousness in fighting corruption? And if he doesn't veto these, ano naman magiging impact nun sa atin?
Yes, yes. We really hope that the president, vetoes this 319 billion, and they accommodate or consider our proposals for program appropriations. No, we are flexible on that naman. Pero yun nga, the problem if the veto will, if the president will pass, no, will approve the 2026 national budget as is, no, or if like lip service veto lang, no. So the problem with that is this a missed opportunity for the president to protect, no, the public funds. He was saying in the SONA na I will not pass a budget, no, that's not aligned with the NEP, no. So we have to really see that on paper now, no, in the 2026 budget. But we hope that he signs the budget today, or if not today, within this week, because further delaying the signing of the budget, no, have really negative ramifications. And the problem is that we have a worse 2025 budget. We have a zero budget for PhilHealth. You have an AKAP budget that's still intact in 2025 budget. So, in a 289 billion of insertions in DPWH. So, if that will be reenacted, this is really talagang mahirap din. No? So that's why we plead to the president to sign the 2026 budget with the veto items that we post, and of course yun nga, on time na sana. I mean, ano na talaga, hindi pala on time. At this point, no, because mahirap kung madedelay. We had a reenacted budget. The last one was 2019, 3 months, no? And there was a deadlock that by then, but now wala naman ang deadlock. So we expect that by today or by this week ay sana ma-assign na yung national budget.
All right, well, we will leave this conversation there for now. Thank you very much for sharing all your insights. Alce Kitalig, Senior Budget Specialist of Social Watch Philippines. Do stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after this short break. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Department of Health recorded 655 cases of fireworks-related injuries this holiday season, with most victims being minors. The data collected from December 21, 2025 to January 3, 2026 is 20% lower than the same period in 2024. Most injuries were caused by unidentified fireworks, followed by quitis and five-star. The monitoring period also saw 1,113 road crash injuries, up 82% from 2024. And starting this week, the Land Transportation Office will further tighten the ban on e-trikes and e-bikes on major roads across Metro Manila. According to LTO Chief Marcos Lacanilao, e-trikes and e-bikes will also be prohibited along Commonwealth Avenue and Quezon Avenue in Quezon City, as well as Marcos Highway and Sumulong Highway in Rizal and Marikina. The ban on e-trikes was earlier implemented along EDSA, C5 Road, Rojas Boulevard, and Quirino Avenue last week, and more than 100 motorists were immediately apprehended. Violators face fines of up to 1,500 pesos, and vehicles may also be impounded if e-trikes and e-bikes are caught using major roads. The LTO earlier explained that the strict measures are being implemented purely for road safety.
Hindi po nila kayang sumabay sa mga sasakyan, lalo na sa mga highway. Imagine ho ninyo kung nabunggo ng bus po yung likod nun. Talaga pong malaking disgrasya ang mangyayari. Yung pong mga kababayan natin kadalasang gumagamit niyan, walang lisensya, hindi nila naunawaan. Minsan nga po minor de edad pa.
While continuous rains have caused flooding across several areas in the Visayas. In Manhuyod, Negros Oriental, sections of the National Highway were submerged, leaving motorists stranded. Meanwhile, in northern Samar, floodwaters reached knee-deep inside homes in Barangay Lumalaog, Las Navas. A public restroom in Catarman also collapsed as rain-soaked soil gave way. Leyte and Biliran were also affected by flooding, and in Basay, classrooms were submerged. Rivers overflowed in Tabon-Tabon, and a landslide in Culaba left mud and rocks scattered across highway. And now let's check the situation in northern Samar. We're joined by Ray Hosaya Echano, Department Head of the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. Sir, good morning. Ano na po ang latest update pagdating sa flooding sa northern Samar? Sir, you're on mute po. Maybe we can just unmute.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes,
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning sa lahat ng mga viewers po. At this point po, yung buong Northern Samar is still experiencing moderate to heavy rains po mula kahapon and the other day, no, mga 2 days na po siya. Pero yung nag-peak siya kagabi, no, umabot sa rainfall warning yung na naranasan ng mga kababayan natin. And nagdulot to ng evacuations na umaabot sa 2,400 individuals or 450 families po sa buong probinsya.
Pero sir, gaano po kalawak ang pagbaha na naranasan sa Northern Samar at ano po yung naging pangunahing dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng pagbaha?
Shear line induced po yung dahilan, no, ng pagbaha. At normally pag mga ganitong panahon naman, no, nararanasan talaga namin. Pero ang kakaiba dito, hindi naman siya masyadong hindi naman across the province, hindi naman masyadong naapektuhan, pero yung ilang mga low-lying communities namin is nakaranas talaga ng matitinding pagbaha po.
As of this morning, sir, baha pa rin po ba sa mga lugar na iyon o humupa na po?
May mga nag-subside na dahil humihina siya ngayon the past 3 to 4 hours, humihina siya. Pero sa buong probinsya po, nararanasan pa rin namin yung moderate to heavy na pag-ulan-ulan po.
And sir, nabanggit nyo nga po 2,400 individuals ang kinailangan ilikas. Kamusta po ang sitwasyon sa mga evacuation center at anong tulong na po ang natanggap nila?
Sa paunang bugso is yung municipal government po natin, mga kababayan natin, ang ang nag-aasikaso sa kanila.
Okay.
Pangalawang, pag mag-intensify pa to, pag mag-escalate pa to, pwedeng ang provincial government at saka national government ay pumasok na po. We're
So-
waiting. Pero sa ngayon po, nakasuspend po yung work and classes sa buong probinsya. Sinuspend po ng ating butihing gobernador kahapon para mapaghandaan yung further escalation ng shear line, no, sa ngayong araw.
So hindi pa rin po ba ina-advise ng local government na bumalik sa kanilang mga tahanan ng mga residente na lumikas po?
Hindi pa po, no. Bagamat may initial na pagbuti ngayong umaga, hindi pa rin po namin, based sa projection ng Pag-asa, hindi pa rin po namin ina-advise na bumalik agad yung mga kababayan natin.
At sir, may mga lugar po ba sa Northern Samar na minomonitor nyo po ngayon for possible landslides, lalo na kung patuloy pa rin po ang ulan?
Yes, ang mga landslide prone areas, parts of Katarman at saka yung almost 80% no ng mga steep, mga katunaan, mga lupa no sa bandang Lope de Vega. Ito po yung pinaka-landslide prone area natin at saka Silvino Lobos po.
Kamusta naman po sir ang kondisyon ng mga kalsada, pati na rin yung mga access road sa Las Navas? May mga lugar po ba na hindi pa rin po madaanan o maabot ng mga responders?
Sa ngayon po, wala pa pong reports na totally
Impossible?
obliterated or totally naharangan po yung daan. So far functional naman po yung mga daanan ngayon. Kung mayroon man kahapon, medyo may natumbang puno, naaagapan agad.
Based on your assessment, sir, may damage na ba, malaking pinsala na iniwan o dinulot nitong malakas na pag-ulan? May nakita po tayong post kung saan ilang eskwela po ata o ilang mga kabahayan ang nasira dahil sa pag-ulan na ito.
Mayroon na pero hindi pa namin consolidated at the provincial level, no, kasi tuloy-tuloy at developing po yung mga data. Inaasahan namin mga ngayong hapon po, ma-consolidate na po namin yung data na yun.
Paano naman po ang koordinasyon nyo sa mga barangay officials, rescue teams at ilang pang mga ahensya para sa rescue at monitoring operations po?
Mula kahapon nag-raise na ng blue alert yung si Governor Harris. Kaya heightened monitoring and coordination kami sa lahat ng mga local government units up to barangay level po.
At bukod po sa evacuation, ano pa pong ginagawang efforts ng inyong local o provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office para maiwasan yung mas malalang epekto po na dala nitong pagulan?
Ang una, syempre, mas pinagtitibay namin yung technical capacity namin sa usapin ng early warning system kasi ito naman yung may kakayahan ang mga augmentation local government units like yung provincial government. So ito yung pinapapilan na mahalaga sa amin, no? Bukod sa pag-augment ng mga material at saka personnel, no, sa mga local government units, ang pinakamahalagang tinutukan namin yung sa early warning system namin, no. Yung pagmo-monitor, pagka-characterize nung risk drivers, no, at saka mga ugat at dahilan ng isang bantang panganib po.
So kamusta naman po yung implementasyon nitong early warning system?
Dahil sa matibay na ugnayan ng mga local government units, mas napapadali yung mga information, cascading ng information sa mga local government units natin. Kaya mas ang experience namin yung super typhoon 1, no, zero casualty kami. at ng mga nakarampang mga bagyo.
Para mas mabilis, mas alerto ang mga residente sa pagresponda, no? Pero sir, kung magtuloy pa rin ang pag-ulan, ano po ba ang worst case scenario at ilang mga contingency plans ng local ng PDRRMO?
Ang buong provincial government po sa pamumuno ni Governor Harris Ongchuan ay nakhanda materially and by personnel to augment local government units na mangangailangan ng tulong. No? We have normally we have a standby rescue force of 800 to 1,000 individuals mobilizing Philippine Army and Philippine National Police po. Pangalawa po yung sa usapin ng augmentation sa food relief foods, no? Sa relief goods natin, andyan din po, we have a standby food packs din. At saka sa usapin ng health personnel, no, if ever magkaroon ng cascading impact itong shear line, yung pagbabaha, pwedeng mag-cascade papuntang mga health diseases, no. Nakahanda rin po yung health personnel natin.
At finally, sir, saan po ba pwede makipag-ugnayan ang publiko kung kailangan po nila ng agarang tulong? At ano na rin po ang mensahe nyo, paalala sa mga residente dyan?
We have a social media page, no, a Facebook page, the Northern Samar PDRMO. On standby 24/7 po kami. Pangalawa, meron tayong landline 500-9812, no? At mayroon din tayong radio signal, pwede rin tumawag sila. Naka-post po 'yan sa social media lahat.
Alright, well, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was Sir Ray Hosaya Echano, Department Head of the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. Thank you, sir.
Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po kayo, ma'am.
Well, after securing public safety during the holidays, the Philippine National Police is now turning its focus to the annual feast of Jesus Nazareno on January 9. The PNP will deploy around 15,000 personnel for crowd control, traffic management, and emergency response. They will be assisted by the local government of Manila, MMDA, and other concerned agencies. Meanwhile, a code white alert will be in effect in public hospitals across Metro Manila and nearby regions. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make this day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, sitting in for Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.